Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Just one item I have to cover before we get to today's story. This is something that, well, I was going to say I find it interesting. Then I decided that I actually find it shocking. But I think I have to add to shocking that it doesn't really surprise me. In fact, I'll just stick with doesn't really surprise me. I think whatever part of the political spectrum any of you may occupy, I think we could all agree, because it's so obvious, that the major networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, in their evening news broadcasts, they all pretty much sing from the same hymn book. They choose the same story to be the main story of the broadcast, and they all, this is the more important part, they all take the same approach, the same angle, because all three of these stations are liberal. That's the national news. The local news. Now, I always thought the local newscast was about local stories. A cat gets caught up a tree, a pothole, somebody gets shot somewhere, rob a liquor store. Local stories are what the mayor said, the city council passed an ordinance, whatever, just local stories. It looks like they're covering the national news now, and they seem to have fallen into the same habit or the same process as the major networks, which makes me wonder if there's some kind of coordination going on here. But you know, I'll just show you this video and then you tell me what you think.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Welcome back. And some coincidence, Some coincidence that all these local stations are saying the same thing in the same way. That's what really surprised me, saying the same things in the same way, taking certain phrases and using these exact same phrases, and who knows how many local broadcasts all across the country. And it's not just the TV stations. Take a look at this collage of local newspaper headlines. All the same headline, all picking the same story to be the main story. Well, I could see that they could all talk about the announcement of the election results, but they all seize on that same phrase and they all use that same phrase in their headlines. I don't think that's a coincidence. Maybe it's just me. I don't think that it's a coincidence. Now on to today's subject, which is what I call Bidengate. Did you forget all about Bidengate? About Hunter Biden's laptop and Tony Bobulinski and the meetings in the hotels and the business arrangements with companies linked to the Chinese Communist Party and payoffs. Well, it's salary in the case of Hunter Biden, though I don't know what I do know what he did to earn the salary. Be the son of Joe Biden, but also 10% for the big guy, which is Joe Biden. So you may have thought that that is all going to get swept under the rug if Biden becomes president. And we don't know yet that he will become president. The media have anointed him the president, but that hasn't actually happened constitutionally yet. That's a whole other story, though, about calling him the president-elect. When you usually do that, well, you've always done that when the opposing candidate, the losing candidate, concedes. Trump hasn't lost yet, or he doesn't think he's lost. He's pursuing all these lawsuits. We'll have to see what happens. But if Biden becomes president, this payoff from a Chinese government linked, well, the whole thing is a major scandal if it comes to light. The press has been trying to bury it. I would have thought, or I had thought, that this is why I just said, well, this story is going to die now that Biden is president. But if, and this is why those Georgia runoff elections are so important, if the Republicans keep control of the Senate, they are going to continue with these investigations. Here's the headline. Senate Republicans say they'll continue Hunter Biden probe. Senators Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson, who headed a Senate investigation into Democratic nominee Joe Biden's family dealings, signaled that they will continue their investigations in 2021 after the new Congress is sworn in. Quote, I'm not going to turn a blind eye, unquote, to the recent developments in the investigation, Johnson told The Hill, which is reporting this story, The Hill, which claimed there is, quote, limited appetite, unquote, among Republicans for a renewal of the probe. Quote, Tony Bobulinski coming forward, the computer being revealed, the FBI possibly starting an investigation. We had a hard enough time getting what evidence we got to even write a report, and then all of a sudden our report sort of opened up this logjam, unquote, said Johnson, the head of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. He was making a reference to Hunter Biden and James Biden, Joe Biden's son and brother, and their overseas business dealings that became the subject of scrutiny and big tech censorship last month. Quote, I'm very confident there are probably more financial transactions that will probably be revealed, unquote. I think you can, since we're talking about financial transactions, I guess I'll make a little pun here. I think you can take that to the bank. I think a lot more is going to come to light if you continue this investigation. But note also what Johnson just said. Business dealings that became the subject of scrutiny and big tech censorship last month. That's important because a poll was taken after the election of Biden voters. It turns out that about 30% of them had never heard of all this business about China, this scandal, the laptop, the arrangements with the Chinese companies tied to the Chinese Communist Party. 30% of Biden voters had never heard of that. That's how successful the censorship, the big tech censorship was. But more important, a percentage of those people, 4% of the electorate, that's what it works out to, 4%, said they would not have voted for Biden had they known about all these items that are now going to be the subject of a Senate investigation or a renewed Senate investigation. So big tech threw the election because that 4% is more than enough to have turned the election the other way had these people only had the information, which they didn't. But what I'm saying now is remember how Trump was impeached over a phone call. If this thing has legs and if this thing turns out to involve Joe Biden in some way, and if the Republicans take control of the House in 2022, then my advice to them is impeach Joe Biden. Turnabout is fair play. Impeach Joe Biden. He will almost certainly not be convicted in the Senate, if for no other reason that convicting Joe Biden would make Kamala Harris vice president. So old Joe's got a security blanket there, an insurance policy in his vice presidential choice, because no Republican, well, no person, I would say, in his right mind, but definitely no Republican is going to want Kamala Harris to be president of the United States. So he is not going to be removed from office. But if he is just impeached, as we saw with Trump, there will be a trial and all the information, all the evidence will come out and it will be nationally advertised. I don't see how even a major network can not show an impeachment trial. I just don't see how they could do it. So that's what I'm hoping they'll do. If, well, of course, loyal American, I hope that there's nothing to these charges, but it's pretty obvious that there is. And if there is, and if they turn out to involve Joe Biden, then I would say he has to be impeached. And if he does have to be impeached, I think the Republicans are perfectly justified in doing what the Democrats did to Trump and make the most of it and use it to harm the presidency of Joe Biden. Keep him in office, but make him unable to get anything done. That's my advice. And my other advice is give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Share with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? Comment section below the video where you can put suggestions for future topics, ask questions. You could subscribe. I love getting new subscribers. You could also visit my music channel. I'm about to put up a third song. There will be 3 songs up there. The link is in the description below. I do it under the name Gene Allan, not to be confused with this channel. And as always, I appreciate your spending your time with me. I really do appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing all of you again. Until I do see all of you again, bye.